Hi, welcome. We're live from backstage at Cannes Lions Festival of Creativity. I'm Julia Hammond, President of Stagwell Global, and I'm here with the fabulous Gail Peterson, CMO at Ecolab. Gail, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for making the time, and well done crushing it on stage.
Thanks. Yeah. That's in the eye of the beholder, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
Take it, absolutely take it. So talk to me. Tell me about Ecolab. What's Ecolab? And talk to me about your role.
Sure. So Ecolab it's a public health and a water company, and it's going to turn 100 next year. So I always say it's like the best thing for people health and planet health that nobody knows about. We're a B2B company. We work in 45 industries and 170 countries. So it's wonderful to work for a company that has such a clear purpose and mission and impacts the world. And I am, as you said, EVP and Global CMO of this great company. I've been there 5 years. It's been a wonderful 5 years, and I hope to have many more.
Talk to me more about purpose. Purpose is the big buzzword this week, so talk to me about the purpose of Ecolab.
Well, I don't think there's ever been a Cannes Lions that I've gone to where we don't talk about purpose. For me, I said this in the spotlight, we always talk about purpose as, I think it needs to be bottoms up. I think it needs to reflect what you do as a business. That way it can drive business decisions. But we often say it's, why do you exist? I like to say, if you didn't exist, what would the world, culture, society really miss? Because I do think the risk with purpose is it can kind of become purpose washing, where we're talking to ourselves.
Totally.
And once you ask that question, I think the bar is a little higher. So we make the planet cleaner, safer, healthier, and we protect people and the resources vital to life. So that's water. That's making sure people have, safe care when they're in the hospital. It's making sure hands are cleaned and surfaces disinfected in a global pandemic. These are the things we do.
I mean, I can't think of a more purpose-driven and higher order value than that. I mean, I think what you were saying about like purpose washing, it's like when it feels inauthentic.
Yes.
Right? And we were just talking about authenticity a minute ago, and you laid out like the best thing I've ever heard in context of authenticity. You said everybody has shades of authenticity.
You just need to know when to deploy them.
Okay, talk to me about
that. More
that.
like aspects, right? So I've always been known as bringing my whole self to work. Just ask any person who unfortunately had to manage me at like 22. They were like, whoa, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
And so I've always been true to myself. Yeah. But I do think the power of authenticity is connecting with another person. It's not for me to go out and be like, this is me, deal with it.
Yeah.
Right? It's about me showing part of myself that connects with another person. And there are different aspects that the person you're connecting to is themselves different and their own amalgamation of traits. And so the real trick is finding that part of me that connects with a certain part of them. And so I think authenticity is not just about knowing who you are and bringing it, but it's knowing what part you should put forth in a given moment for a given audience.
That feels, really related to the topic that, is another big theme of Cannes this year, right? DE&I. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about that, and because obviously, you've got a perspective, authenticity, bringing your whole self is a big part of it. Yeah. Talk to me about that.
Well, people will often say, well, of course you're into DE&I. I'm a black woman, right? I would like to think it goes beyond that, I'll be honest. I do think being a black woman, you know what it feels like to be excluded. You know what it feels like to be the only person in the room. So I think that gives you a foundation of empathy for other parts of difference. I honestly think for our industry, it's essential. Like the fact that it is now a theme at Cannes, I don't want us to pat ourselves on the back for that. Yeah. The number of panels I'm on where they still ask, what's the business case for diversity? And I want to be like, do you know what Google is? Like there's 50 years of research. There's more. You can look in Nature, right? I work in a company of a lot of scientists. I think it's the second law of thermodynamics. And if I got that right, everybody at Ecolab needs to buy me lunch. Exactly, but it's like nature moves toward randomness and difference, not toward order. If it moves toward order, it dies. Right? So you see it not just in studies of people, but studies of life. And I think the question we should ask ourselves at Cannes is, how have we survived for so long in a homogenous industry. And we're supposed to be creative. We're supposed to be pushing those bounds. So I'm glad it's a topic, but we really, really need to do more in this space. And we have a huge platform that can drive change. Some of the challenges we've created, the concept of what is masculinity. We can all think of those ads, Marlboro Man. I mean, there's a lot. And it's our responsibility to undo it and to drive it.
You talked about like the what you just basically laid out foundationally is like, well, we've created our own problem, right? We've created
Not alone.
No. There's no. It's not just ourselves. We've contributed.
Yes, for sure.
To a more macro issue in society, right? And I think, we look at ourselves as an industry, advertising and marketing, right? We've done things the same way for so long. You've got these big, like, legacy ways of working, ways of doing things, ways of going to market, ways of structuring companies and structuring campaigns. Like, I've noticed there's a lot of creator networks here this week. And there's a lot of conversation about, no, we need to be more inclusive, not just in the kinds of campaigns that we build, the kind of talent we bring in, but I think it's even more so like how we define creativity.
Yeah.
Like, have you been picking up any of that?
Oh, for sure. And one of the things I would say that I think is great about our industry, I actually think we're not afraid to reinvent ourselves, right? There are constantly things. You can look at the tents around Cannes, right? Every year you come, they're a little different. You see the impact that can be made. TikTok, I always say it's like the MTV of, like, from my generation. That's the new MTV, right? And I think we have to respond, we have to react, we have to get ahead of it. And I have seen signs of that, which I think is great. It's not just about diversity. We're talking about what's the power of women as storytellers. What makes that different? What makes that good? The power of who really leads culture. And how do we, like, not so much, this population is 10% of the world or of America or of Brazil or whatever country, but this is the influencer of culture. And I think that's how we have to see it. And while we have, some of these old things, whether it be a brand, I'm a brand person, so what's great is when a brand pivots, the impact that has is massive. Some of my friends and Becca, what they're doing with some of the world's most iconic brands. I was just listening to my mentor, Anton Vincent, and he was talking about how, the M&Ms were all about fun, but if you really think of those characters, it's really about inclusivity, and they're moving to belonging, right? That shift, what that's going to mean, that's amazing. He can have that impact. So some of the old stuff is actually good when trying to, it makes it relatable, accessible to a lot of people.
So you mentioned Becca. Talk to me more about Becca. What's Becca?
Okay, so Becca is the Black CMO Alliance, and it was started by Jerry, who I hope you interviewed Jerry.
We did.
Is, as we all say when Jerry calls, there's one thing you say, and that is yes. And the second thing you say is how much, right? So she decided there was this need for, there are organizations of Black executives. Many of us are members of similar ones, and they serve a role as well. But doing the racial and functional overlap has been fantastic. And so I think we're 33 members strong now, which was, I've been in this space and I didn't know there were 33, right? Even though you don't always know where people are. And we did it so the next tranche of Black talent, which they are phenomenal, can learn from our mistakes. Making a mistake is good. Don't waste your mistakes, but let's try not to make the same one twice. And so we don't want them to make our mistakes. We want to hold them up. We want to cheer them on. And we all got help. I got help from Anton and many other people, and we want to help those behind us as well.
That's amazing. Incredible mentorship, obviously, opportunity for you. But you hit on something that I like to talk about a lot. Like when I'm mentoring or when I'm talking to people, I always talk about falling forward.
Right? Oh, me too.
You do?
Yes.
Yes. Right. Learning from your failures. So I want to hear, what was your biggest F?
Oh, I don't even have a biggest one. I do it every day. I say if I don't fail in a day,
I'm
not learning. And even my whole career journey, I didn't come out of my mom and say I want to be a CMO of a company, right? It's always, my next move has always been about the new learning. And when you put yourself in those situations, you make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
You really do. One of the ones I made well, I'll tell you one more recent one when I was CMO. So I became CMO in January 2020. Then the world fell apart. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you're a water and a public health company.
Yeah.
And so the world, if you remember, we were like stocking up toilet paper and hand sanitizer, anything that smelled like alcohol. We wanted, because we're like, stuff needs to be like different kind of clean.
Including alcohol.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I have a marketing organization of 850 people in all these industries, and they were working on supplying our customers, and we focused on hospitals, back to living the mission, right? This population needs it more. It doesn't actually matter if we make less money there. We need to supply the hospitals. And so that's what they were working on. And my boss and CEO came to me, it must have been mid-March, and he said, I want the whole company focused on supply and cash. And I was like, good news. That is what marketing's focused on. And he turned to me and he said, except for you, Gail. And he said, if you're not focused on how this is going to change our future and our markets, we're going to be dead in the water.
Oh, wow.
And it was in that moment that I realized, I failed, because no one should have to tell a marketer they need to be looking forward. Okay. It's one of two functions that look forward. And so, I licked my little wounds and I tried to get out, and we had some amazing opportunities that came out of that, but we could have been to market probably a quarter earlier had I not forgotten what our function is for in a corporation.
Wow. Okay. So obviously you had to make a massive pivot, right at the beginning of your start at Ecolab.
Yeah.
And now we're sort of coming out of the pandemic, and
Here's hoping, depends on what country.
Correct. But it looks like we're going to have to rethink things again. Like, what behaviors are going to change, what are going to stay, what's going to revert. How are you thinking about that as you're now focused on the future?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, we talk to people, and there's behaviors and there's beliefs. All we can go off of our beliefs. In the past, when there's been kind of a global health scare like this, what happens is the behavior does come down, but it doesn't go to avian flu, whatever levels. And so I do expect a heightened expectation around cleaning and sanitation. People being a little bit more wary of crowded spaces. That one might go away in a couple of years, but we got to keep looking. You got to ask people and you got to watch people.
Right.
I also think one of the things, because on the sustainability side of the house, we were going to launch the Big Water Resilience Coalition with the UN Global Compact in March of 2020. And we did, but respectfully, we did it a little more quietly. And we didn't know what was going to happen with sustainability. And here's the conversation around sustainability increased, right? All the promises people are making. The actual harm we're doing to the planet also increased.
Right.
And so it's going to change how we talk and how we position ourselves within that water space. And we'll see, hopefully the world will be tolerant of us just being a little bit more direct on what we're really doing and what we need to do. But yeah, that's why marketing's fun.
Yeah.
You get to just constantly evolve and move.
Right, it's the same thing every day. You wouldn't want to do it.
Oh gosh, oh no. Yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts you want to leave us with on your experience here at Cannes?
Well, no, all I would say is thank you to Cannes Lions for embracing diversity more and more, having different voices at the table. I hope we can not just do it in a week, but sustain it into the future. And I think the impact we get to make as an industry, we're blessed that we get to have the opportunity to make this impact. And with that power comes accountability and responsibility. So I hope we all use it.
Thank you, Gail. That was amazing. I really appreciate sitting down with you. It was so fun to just get to know you.
I know, you too.
This is great.
You too.
This is great. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Please come to our LinkedIn profile and stagwellglobal.com for all the behind-the-scenes Cannes content.